Some breaking news this morning as Fed Governor Lisa Cook files a lawsuit to contest her firing by President Trump, saying the, quote, for cause provision is essential to protecting the Fed's independence and does not support removal over policy disagreements. That lawsuit comes after another firing in the past 24 hours. The White House says it has dismissed CDC Director Susan Monarez. At least 4 other top officials at the agency also said they would step down in protest. The firings at the CDC and the Fed, just the latest example of the removal of agency officials under this Trump administration. Eamon Javers joins us to discuss. You know, Eamon, have we, and by the way, didn't mention the STB, Democrat there. That's obviously kind of in our world, certainly given rail consolidation. Is it like anything we've seen prior in a prior administration, or does it stand on its own, Eamon?
No, this is definitely uncharted waters here, right? I mean, Lisa Cook this morning is saying that her firing is, quote, unprecedented and illegal. She's going to fight it. She says her due process rights have been trampled on here, and we'll see where that lawsuit goes. But as you say, we've seen a pattern of these now with the Trump administration, and we prepared a graphic here to show all the different officials that the president has either fired or attempted to fire over the course of this administration. Rebecca Slaughter at the FTC, she's challenging that. That's in court right now. Alvarado Bedoya at the FTC, also Erica McIntyre, the BLS commissioner, Lisa Cook, as we just said, challenging that firing. Susan Monarez at CDC also challenging that firing decision. Robert Primus at the Surface Transportation Board, so much influence over railroads. He has said he's going to challenge that firing as well. So some of these officials are going quietly, some of them are going loudly, and some of them are saying they're not going at all. And what you got here, David, is an overall approach by this White House to say that we're going to, sort of turn our backs on, a generation or a couple generations of precedent in Washington. We are going to take control of these so-called independent federal regulators because we don't think that they should be independent from political judgment when it's, our political judgment as the White House as to what to do. Now, there's been a long-standing belief in Washington that what you need in a lot of these regulatory jobs is somebody who's nonpartisan, non-ideological, and sort of a technocrat to run that, who's free from political interference, and that would give you better relationship between government and business. The Trump approach, entirely different. What President Trump is saying is, okay, look, you may have said that those people were non-political, but they were all political, and they were doing things that were based on their political ideology under the guise of being a nonpartisan technocrat. And therefore, I deserve to be the one in charge to take over. And ultimately, it's going to be down to the courts whether or not he succeeds in each of these cases, David. Yeah. Now, the Supreme Court has weighed in on his power to remove certain so-called quasi-independent or officials at quasi-independent agencies, haven't they? And they said he can, although they seem to say different when it came specifically to the Fed. Yeah, they carved out the Fed and said that the Fed is a different animal. So you can fire people at different federal agencies. The Fed, they said, is sort of its own beast. But I think that the president and his advisors are really concerned not necessarily about norms and sort of what's been considered proper in Washington for years. They say that was wrong. And what we want to do is take control of these things because these people had been enacting either a liberal agenda or an agenda that they don't like at the White House. And so the question, I think, for American business is, what does that mean next, right? I mean, because we've also seen the president assert that if the federal government is going to do something for a company, say NVIDIA, if the federal government is going to issue them an export license to export their product to China, well, then the federal government should get a percentage of their revenue. So what the president has asserted so far is this idea that if we as the federal government are taking regulatory action on your behalf that benefits you, then you owe us a kickback. You owe us a percentage of the revenue. You owe us something. And so the question for all these other agencies is that a pattern we're going to see in all of these agencies, at CDC, at the Surface Transportation Board, and elsewhere? If the government is taking action on behalf that benefits a company, will there be an expectation now that that company has to pay something to the government for that?
Also, because it's not just remaking the agencies under the Trump administration right now. When you have top leaders resigning in protest, when you have career generals being fired, when you have the experts in the bureaucracy out of those jobs, you're changing the way government operates for generations to come.
Yeah, there had been this system of checks and balances built into the regulatory state. And what Trump is saying is that, A, he doesn't want to be checked or balanced, and B, that those checks and balances really didn't work because these people ended up being political anyway. And so, therefore, he might as well just take control of them. And so the question, Carl, as you look at this, is, whether you think it's good for American business to have a unitary American executive branch, which is run by the president and operates under his decision and discretion, or whether you think that these checks and balances from the past couple of generations were a good idea in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's prosaic, Eamon, to cite the Constitution, but Article 1, Section 9 says no tax or duty shall be laid on articles exported from any state. So the notion of taking a cut of NVIDIA's revenues of exports would seem, I think, unconstitutional or odd, but that's a conversation for a different time.
The Constitution gives Congress the power to tax, right?
Right. Eamon, thanks.